Oh hey there, that's me, Pam, your friendly crafting guide. Just jumping in here to remind you to wear the proper safety gear. All set? Cool, let's go. To start this little Minecraft planter project, you will need some scrap wood. We will be cutting 1" by 1" blocks, so ideally you'll want to use some 1" thick boards. I used 1" deck boards that I had lying around from a past project. Now that you have your wood, start cutting 1" pieces, chunks, strips, lengths of the board until you're chopped up all of the board into 1" long pieces, if that makes any sense. I set up a guide on my mitre saw so that I didn't have to measure each piece. Basically, I clamped a scrap piece of wood to the stand 1" from the blade. So then I just had to push the board against the jig and cut. Oh hey, it's me again. Now that we have our 1" wide lengths of wood cut, we are going to take each one of these pieces and cut them down into 1" blocks. So I used my fancy high-tech jig again and cut the smaller pieces into 1" cubes. Whatever tool you are using, remember to be careful. I send many blocks flying across my garage. Oh yeah, just be careful. We don't want any emerge visits just to make a Minecraft planter. Now that we have a fun box full of 1" blocks, it's time for sanding. At this point, I had around 150 blocks to sand. Each of the blocks equals 1 pixel in the Minecraft planter as seen here. So to figure out how many blocks needed, I just counted the pixels and multiplied that by how many sides I had. I started hand sanding with a sanding block and a piece of sandpaper and quickly learned I could work faster if I glued sandpaper to a board and rubbed the block on the sandpaper instead. All I could say is that I'm glad I had nice weather to work outside because this part sucked. I highly recommend bribing someone to help you. Then you can have epic sand-offs to pass the time. Wowzers, look at that dust.
Oh, you're so cute. Yes, you are. You're so cute. Where are you going, cutie patootie? Little cutie. You're so cute. Thank you, mommy.
After you spent a lifetime sanding blocks and you're finished questioning your life's choices, clean all of the dust off the blocks with a lint-free rag. Yep, 1 by 1. Honestly, sometimes I think I must hate myself or I just really like repetitive tasks. To be honest, it really does clear your mind though. I call it maker meditation. Okay, so now we have a bunch of sanded and clean blocks. Now what? Well, if you're a child like me, you'll separate them into piles and play with them while you simultaneously rationalize why you just made over 100 blocks and are figuring out what to do next with them. I was going to stain the blocks individually, which is why I separated them, by the way. Then I realized the variation in the wood's surface would be enough to make the blocks look like the different pixel shades as seen on the Minecraft planter. Which means it's gluing time! I cut a 1 by 2" board to act as a frame for when I clamped the blocks together after gluing them. Then I took some stainable wood glue and stuck all of the blocks together for each side. Cue gluing montage. I framed the blocks with the boards I cut and clamped them together until they dried. I allowed for about 45 minutes to an hour of drying time before unclamping and moving on to the next side. This was only because I don't own enough clamps to glue all of the sides together at once. Once the glue is dry, pull off the frame or pry it off if you've also accidentally glued the blocks to the frame. Ta-da! 4 sides! And yes, 2 are smaller. Comment down below if you know why. I noticed after the glue dried that there were gaps between some of the blocks, so I grabbed the oldest tube of wood filler that I could find and futilely attempted to fill in all the holes. If you're wondering, wood filler should be creamy. This PSA was brought to you by more sanding. I would highly recommend using an orbital or finishing sander for the next part. While you can continue to hand sand the sides smooth, I wouldn't. I started with about 80 grit sandpaper and worked my way up to 220 grit because that's all I had. When you're done and the sides are all silky smooth, clean off all of the dust again. And then, as you examine your not-so-handiwork, you realize you have something much more powerful hiding in the basement that could transform your project from bland to grand. Behold, the belt sander! Then, as you sand away all of the jagged, rough, and pointy bits, you wonder how you ever managed to create anything before the belt sander. Those were dark times. Once you are satisfied with the smoothness of the sides, you are going to go ahead and glue them all together. I marked the interior bottom edge of each side so I remembered how I wanted it glued when I was putting it together. I started with 2 sides and then glued them together at the corner. As you may have guessed, the extra row of blocks on 2 of the sides acts as the corner blocks or pixels for 2 sides joined together. Once the sides are glued and stuck to newspaper you used, because I have no excuse for that. Don't do that. Use cardboard instead, or something else. Next, you are going to glue and clamp these pieces together to form the sides of your planter. At this point, you can also glue in the bottom of the planter. I cut a piece of pine I had lying around to match the obviously not square hole in the bottom of the planter. Shh, no one will notice if you don't tell them. After the sides and bottom dried, I did take the planter back down to the belt sander and cleaned up any problem areas, which I didn't film because I'm lazy. Can I just say again how much I love the belt sander? Honestly, it's amazing. 10 out of 10. And now for something completely different. It's staining time! I did not purchase stain for this project and at the moment can't recall what shade it is. In fact, I don't think I bought anything for this build, which is fabulous. Yes, I love that. We're getting all of the 3 R's in on this project. Anyway, I applied 1 coat of stain to the sides and interior of the planter. Cue the staining montage. And then I let that dry. And applied a second coat to the outside only because I'm lazy. And that's it! Our Minecraft planter is complete. All I want to say is that I love the variation of the wood blocks in the planter. Even in old deck boards, it's just so cool. I hope you enjoyed this video and that I've inspired you to go out and make something today, or at the very least I made you smile. If you full on guffawed at any point, feel free to smash that like button and subscribe because I'll be here for you every other week throughout the summer because I'm a busy lady. Thanks for watching. My name is Pam and this is Total Pamarchy, the craft channel with a little anarchy. Until next time.